Lunaverse, episode 13.5 by Grassic Clouds 2, chapter 3, Lightning and Fisher, 3 a.m. Everything is ready, sir, said Ori. Splendid. Think it'll work? If it were any other pony, I would say no, sir. But if you planned to personally be on the scene assisting the con, I would give it 50% odds.
That sounds about right. Greengrass smiles. Newspapers, actors, clothing.
Letters, too, with the appropriate stamps and postmarks.
Letters, really? Excellent work. Greengrass blinked. You continue to impress me, Notary.
I do my best, sir, Notary smiled a compliment. But I do have one more matter for you. A message just arrived from your castle.
What is it?
The new gardener, sir. He failed the fidelity test.
Greengrass, like most employers, preferred loyal employees. As such, whenever he hired new help, be it a castle servant, bodyguard, spy, or member of his political network, he arranged things such as they had an opportunity to somehow betray him early on, so that Greengrass could make sure they didn't take it. The gardener, who had money problems, had been left alone in a room with a pouch of bits. Evidently, he'd stolen the money. Incompetence usually only merited a firing, unless the incompetent employee knew too much, and had to be located elsewhere for the sake of Greengrass's political career. Outright theft and disloyalty, though, carried harsher penalties. That money was from the Equestrian Bank branch in my fiefdom, as I recall.
Yes, sir.
Greengrass's voice was calm and dispassionate, as if discussing a business report. Have Brute inform the gardener that he will either volunteer for the Mile West settlement teams, or will go to jail for felony theft. Greengrass was fond of sending his disloyal or traitorous employees to the public works projects in far-flung districts. He got rid of the traitors, made Greengrass look good for supporting the public good, and would also likely cause ponies in charge of those districts headaches much later. The director of Mile West settlements was on some influential communities. If he was saddled with a thief, Greengrass might be able to exploit that eventually.
Yes, sir.
Greengrass smiled, indicating that the distasteful part of the conversation was over. If nothing else, I'll see you at 5 then. I have some personal business to attend to.
Very well, sir. Have fun in your secret hideout.
It's Notary. You make it sound like a fool's clubhouse. I do serious work there. Notary raised an eyebrow. But yes, I plan to unwind a bit in my private residence.
It's a secret hideout, sir.
Greengrass laughed and laughed. 4 a.m. There wasn't a lot of open land available in Canterlot, but Greengrass preferred to have his garden indoors anyway. It was the basement of an old condominium complex that Greengrass had been able to buy cheaply. He knocked down the walls between the basement rooms, and then he installed pipes, sprinklers, artificial lighting, and soil. The Duke then planted flowers, shrubs, even a few small trees. By now, it was a surprisingly verdant garden, and Greengrass made it a point to stop by and do some actual gardening at least 3 times a week. The garden didn't technically need it. He brought the latest in technology. The lighting and sprinklers ran on gear clocks. It could run themselves for months if they left them unattended. But he liked to. It was, he knew, a weakness. An enemy could exploit his garden by threatening to torture or something, but he was willing to accept that. He wasn't going to be a career civil servant who schemed for power his whole life and never used it on himself. His father had been a pony like that. Got into court at age 20, retired at 70, had barely done anything for himself in the intervening 50 years. All his energy was directed at shoring up his own position and moving it ever higher, which he did by accomplishing more and more for the government. And so, quite inadvertently, he wound up as one of Equestria's unsung heroes, an industrious and intelligent pony who continually placed the country's welfare above his own. The banquet they threw for him when he retired was the only time he'd taken in 15 years to do something for himself. Greengrass snorted. His father had been a fool, but he wouldn't make the same mistakes. He'd continue to move up, but he'd spend time on himself too. If it had made things harder later, so what? He'd meet that challenge. The Duke had always wanted to have a nice garden, but he'd never been any good at growing plants outdoors. However, in the basement, in an environment that left nothing to chance, he was finally able to produce a garden. He set the temperature, lighting, watering, and everything was tightly controlled, and the plants flourished and the garden grew brilliantly. It was more of a matter of course to surprise. Someday, he thought, smiling, all Equestria will be like this garden, one unified nation controlled by me. I will rule over every bit of it, from the biggest corporation to the smallest house. I will build it into a mighty empire and run it exactly as I wish. Not wanting to get too far ahead of himself, he hadn't thought about how much exactly what ruling all Equestria would entail. Besides doing something about the Everfree, he saw no reason why such an uncontrolled and chaotic area was to be allowed to exist. But he was confident he would indeed rule it someday. Maybe, he thought, it was the Earth pony in him, wanting to build something, and setting its sights just a little higher than most who were content to muck about on a little farm for their whole lives. In a few years, I will be atop the court. That alone would be a great achievement. It would give me fast power. And then, maybe a few years later, I will find some way to supplant Luna. Alicorns haven't always ruled the land, after all. It wouldn't be impossible. But all of that would have to wait. At the moment, Greengrass was carefully examining a sunflower. Though the garden was almost perfect, with flowers and shrubs in the right arrangement, this particular sunflower wasn't doing well. It was drooping, giving the whole line of flowers a weird look. Like a line of soldiers with one that didn't wake up, Greengrass thought. Not acceptable. Not here. He examined it carefully, pointing his ear to the top, then a hoof to its roots. He took a deep breath and focused on his talent, because he had a strong intuition that would be needed. Root rot. Aha! He took a very small spade and dug, very carefully until he saw the roots. Yes, something seemed to have infected them. Moving carefully, he placed the tip of his hoof against the rotten parts, and he focused. I never was very good at gardening, he thought, or growing anything, really. Kind of embarrassing, to be an earth pony that could barely keep grass alive. But my father taught me one useful lesson. Son, he said, get out! No, the other thing. Some earth ponies are good at making things grow, but that's not all you need to run a farm. Some pony has to make the fertilizer. Some pony has to lay the water pipes. Some pony has to do the accounting. Maybe your talent's in one of those areas. The rod began to turn an odd shade of black and peel off the root. And it was. Weeding was mine. Greengrass had gotten his key mark when he had woken up one morning to find that his latest attempt at gardening, a plot of impatience, the easiest and hardiest flower to grow in the world, had been taken over by some weed that grew on everything. Greengrass had stepped into the garden plot in dismay, only to feel some kind of real feeling over him. In a daze, he walked over to the plot, images popping into his head. By the time he was done, he had a fake recipe, ingredients and proportions for a crude weed killer. He hadn't been able to save the impatience, but he had made sure that every weed was dead. His cutie mark, an X, the universal symbol of elimination and deletion, appeared immediately afterwards. And since then, he nurtured his talent, taking it far beyond weeds. He could see the weaknesses of things, not just plants, but structures, even ponies. He could see what would break them. Some chemicals for a weed, a strong blow and a weak joint for a building, or something like age, pride, fear, or friendship for a pony. He could find those weaknesses and exploit them. It was just like weeding, but on a much larger scale. Greengrass, there's this mare over on Tracy's Game Back on Her Hooves known as Checkered Monarch. I think you two would get along great. He tried a few different careers. He had been such a great interrogator for the police at Stalingrad during his days as a wandering youth, and he had taken a turn as a lawyer in Ambrosia a few years prior. But ultimately, politics was where he was most suited for. The other ponies had political skill of various degrees, but Greengrass also had his talent. He could see how to break others, how to sink their careers and make room for his own. Hence his habits to rise and boundless ambition. The rot was dead. Greengrass took a sip from a flask of whiskey, a rare and expensive vintage. He had only the best when he was gardening. He began to carefully pack the dirt back around the sunflower. He smiled, looking at the plant whose life he just saved. It would heal, and his garden would continue to improve. Perfection. 5 a.m. Captain Lightning's train pulled to the train station exactly on schedule. All right, said Greengrass. We have 2 votes, but we need his archduchesses to make it 3. Where are the actors? All along the route, sir, said Notary. I've taken the liberty of seeing the chamber present to manipulate the vote order. Right, good thinking. We want Blue Blood last, since he'll end up being the deciding vote, and he'd be thoughtless enough not to care. He smiled. I don't know where I'd be without you. In jail, sir, I would estimate. Greengrass laughed, and Notary smiled. All right. You're indispensably noted, and will be accompanied by a substantial heartwarming Eve bonus. Now, let's con this soldier. Lightning stepped out of the train and quickly trotted briskly towards the castle. brushing by a couple of ponies and torn clothes as he did so.
Excuse me,
He said, his voice clear and bright in the morning air. Greengrass began to follow him, but discreetly in the distance. Norrie vanished back into the house. I really should learn how she does that, he thought. Lightning maneuvered through the crowd skillfully as he got out of the train station and began the short walk to the palace. He had to step around several sets of ponies in torn clothing as he did so, some with what looked like minor injuries. As he tried, his steps began to slow. Greengrass smiled. He was taking the bait.
here's something,
Began Lightning, pausing the example a set of huddled ponies who looked quite frightened and disheveled. Then he started, having a chance to examine their clothes more closely.
What happened?
The ponies shrank away from him, vanished into the side streets.
Come back!
Yelled the bewildered Lightning. He approached another group, but they scattered as soon as they saw him coming.
What's going on?
Greengrass approached. Hello, Captain. Please do.
Shut up! Did something happen?
What do you mean?
Those injured ponies. They're wearing clothes from the northern provinces, snapped Lightning. Was there something problem up north?
Greengrass pretended to think. Well, there was that special train that came in about 10 minutes before yours. I think it was from the train.
Special train?
A lot of ponies got off it. They looked kind of like refugees, shell-shocked and, well, you know. This was one of the bigger scams that Greengrass had tried to pull, but it seemed to be working. Lightning's eyes started about.
I don't believe this. I'll have to front for 2 days to head back here to vote. If something happened, if there was an attack, they should have sent me a message aboard the train. Give me a newspaper.
Lightning shoved his way out past Greengrass and galloped to the nearest newspaper stand, just opening for business.
Give me that!
He ordered Lightning, seizing a paper.
No. Look, there's something here about it. If something had gone wrong, the papers would have had the story before the refugees arrived.
Greengrass praised through the paper. Ah, there, page 7. It had been worth getting that printing press, Greengrass thought. As silly as some might think the idea was, it could be very useful to be able to print up a fake page in the newspaper. He had an ex-editor from whom he could call on a moment's notice to mock up a page that looked perfectly real. Then, all that was needed was to obtain several real newspapers, switch a page with a fake, and then get those newspapers back to the stands where they were needed. It was a lot of work, and it cost a lot of money. But what pony, even a courtier, would think that a newspaper sold at a public stand might be faked? You clever!
Mysterious incidents in the northern provinces. Report scary, sketchy. Possible injuries reported.
Lightning flung the paper away.
What is this? Don't they know anything? Why isn't this on the front page?
The court doesn't have the resources to deal with it right now. Blue Blood's got every pony terrified of Corona, so most of the military is being persistent against her. They don't want to panic any pony, so they're downplaying it, said Greengrass. A pony in a tattered shawl bumped into them and dropped a letter as he rushed by. The letter had a stamp and postmark for the northern provinces. Lightning seized it and opened it, though Greengrass hadn't read it himself. He was confident that Norrie came up with some horrific tale of woe.
Downplaying this. According to this letter, 1 of 4 ponies was injured.
Lightning looked furious.
It doesn't say what it was, but we have to defend against it.
The court won't listen.
Insane! I'll make them listen! If something happened up north, it's something a few squads of the ground troops and battle mages can't fix.
They won't deploy them.
I didn't ask your opinion.
Look, you know it'll take a few days to get any pony sent up to the front. Like I said, they're in full Corona panic mode right now. They won't listen to you. I wish it were different. I wish there was something I could do, but the court's frozen. Lightning ground his teeth. Greengrass nodded to himself. With details this scathing, it would take days to deploy more than a token force, and Lightning knew it.
I hate politicians, and you're included in that, Greengrass.
I've never done anything.
Stop it! If you really want to show you care about this country, give me some of the militia and military forces and you'll fight them. You're not using them now, and you can reach the provinces in less than a day.
I just can't give them to you. I'd be a laughingstock. That's not how it's done in court.
What's more important, the whole country or your career?
Greengrass shook his head. Look, just give me a token, and I can promise to lend you half of my guards for a month. Like this vote coming up. Ask Archduchess nobility to flip her vote. That way, I can say I got something for giving you my guards.
Are you that afraid of being accused of altruism?
It's lethal in the court. Lightning laughed at that, a harsh barking sound.
Alright, sorry. Already pledged to support Fisher.
He'll still get the grant. Greengrass tried to look frustrated, like he wanted to help Lightning, but couldn't because of the captain's own stubbornness. He's 3 throats up, and you only control 1. Just do this for me, and you'll have 2 squadrons of guards to supplement your forces up north. If you don't, I can't help you, and we both know it'll take days to get to any other force up there. Lightning glared at Greengrass, but the Duke already knew what Lightning would do. He wouldn't leave his forces or the province hanging.
Fine! Now get the hell out of my way!
Greengrass looked around. The injured ponies would disperse in a few minutes. They had only been paid to act for a short while. None of them knew his real identity. Nori had handled hiring them, and as far as they knew, this was all just some big, improvised street profession, an artiste thing. The newspaper vendors didn't know either. There was nothing tying the scam back to him. Perfect. All that was left was a vote. 6 a.m. Not a bad night's work, Greengrass said, smiling, as Nori opened the door to his booth. Not bad at all. We haven't won yet. Ah, but we will. Now's when we can savor our triumph before moving on to our next adventure. Of course, sir. Would this be like when we were saving our triumph and obtaining the services of higher heartstrings? I should hope not. Greengrass shook his head. I admit it. I underestimate Lula Moon's immaturity. To throw a fit and frame her friend because Lyra is going to leave her. Honestly, the thought of her controlling the elements scares me. It scares many ponies. But she's Luna's favorite, so she can't be targeted directly. Oh well, he sighed. No matter. We'll get them all eventually. None of them have the resources to beat me. The vote is starting, sir. Down below, ponies were rising. I vote that the grant be awarded to Artsu Fizzer. I vote that the grant be awarded to 5-3 Pusats. Fizzer, Pusats! After several votes, Neri murmured, All votes so far as expected, sir. Splendid. There was a pause. Your turn, sir. All right. He stuck his head out of the booth. I vote for Pusats! The first unexpected part was when Bonting Max got up. He was nervous, sinking a bit, but he managed to say, I vote for Pusats! And there were whispers. The second prize was when Archduchess Nobility spoke. Vice Pusats, she said, her voice rhythmical and strong, without question. Fessio was looking nervous and was whispering to his whole entourage. He was one of those ponies, Greengrass thought, who seemed to need at least 5 others to follow him around wherever he went. Greengrass' side was a bit pathetic. He needed only Nori most of the time. He could get by without her if he had to. Mr. though, looked lost on the rare cases he didn't have his crew. For that matter, he looked a bit lost now. Blue Blood voted last. He should have voted early, given his relatively junior rank of Viscount. But it seemed the voting order was somehow tumbled. I vote for Pazance, he said. Pazance herself was a bit surprised, only Belia raised up to thank the court for bestowing the grant upon her lands. The elder Brick, in the audience, seemed to be restraining the urge to cheer. Fisher, from his bluff, looked shocked and said nothing. The rest of the court erupted into murmurs and whispers, as every pony tried to figure out how this sudden reversal come to be. Greengrass smiled. Now can we celebrate? I think that would be acceptable, sir. Greengrass had just poured himself a large tumbler of bourbon when lightning stormed into the office.
There was no attack up north, he yelled. You made it all up!
Made what up? I saw what you saw. Any fakery fooled me, too. Lightning ground his teeth. Liar! And I will end you! End me how? Greengrass smiled politely, as if the discussion were academic.
I'll tell the whole court of you to pray efforts to fool me into reproducing Equestria military forces and to succeed national defense.
Greengrass held up a proof. Wait, first of all, do you have any evidence I did anything?
Those ponies! The papers!
I had nothing to do with them. And if you had any evidence to the contrary, I would be surprised.
Then you lied about the special train! There was no such train!
I never said I saw it myself. I just told you what I heard. I suppose we were both fooled. Greengrass smirked. I wish you luck in finding the culprit.
Forget proof. I'll tell the court anyway!
You'll tell the court that I fooled you with a few actors in some newspapers? Go ahead if you want. But if you tell the world that you're that foolish, I don't see you having a long career, said Greengrass. I don't see you having a long one anyway. If I know the Archduchess, she'll be furious when she finds out what happened. She trusted you. You let her down by having her vote for the wrong pony in the name of a fictitious crisis. I'll protect you be removed from the political scene and deployed to the middle of nowhere within 2 weeks. I can weather your anger until then. The captain hesitated. He wasn't good at politics, Greengrass knew, but even he knew that admitting he had been fooled would destroy him.
I will ruin you, vowed Lightning. I don't know how, but I will.
He swept up. Minutes later, Poussin entered. Oh, well done, she said. I didn't know you had it in you. I get that a lot. Bourbon. They drank a toast. Then Poussin smiled. Whatever your plans are for this gala, you can count on my support. Splendid. I'm glad to be working with such an esteemed politician. I think I like you, Greengrass. Please, take care not to overextend yourself. I would be quite sad to have to destroy you. I'll keep that in mind. After she left, Greengrass was about to go to bed for the day. Archduke Fisher started to his room.
Okay, explain to me, said the Archduke. I saw and I crush you!
Greengrass carefully considered how to play his next move. He decided on a confident, yet slightly placating tack. In a calm voice, he said, "It was a small grant. We both know it won't hurt you much to lose it. But I had to get your attention somehow."
Attention.
Greengrass nodded. "I've been trying to get on your calendar for months, but you seem to think I was beneath your nose."
Ah, I see. Well, I noticed you now. I don't think you'll like it.
"Let me make it up to you," said Greengrass. "I have a few plans that can lead to a handsome profit for us both, provided we work together. My secretary will send you the details. If you like what you see, and I think you will, I'd be happy to let you take a bit of a larger share of the profits as recompense for this."
Fisher frowned. I suppose you are interesting enough that I would like to see your offer. But take care, Greengrass. I do intend for you to make it up to me, and I don't feel like you have. I can make your night court career nasty, brutish, and quite short.
Understood. And then he too was gone. Greengrass entered his room and sat on his bed. "Notary?" "Yes, sir." His secretary poked her head from his office area. "It seems that whenever I talk with another pony in the court, the conversation ends with them threatening to crush me. Do you think we could just let it be known that it's understood? It would save me quite a bit of time in the long run." "I'll look into it, sir." Greengrass laughed, a deep, warm sound. But that was fun. Remind me to do that again sometime. "Of course, sir. And congratulations are in order. That was a masterful plan." Greengrass chuckled. "Well, I do have them on occasion." He laid down and was asleep in moments, dreaming of an equestrian empire, perfect in every way, ruled only by him. The end. Quite interesting difference from the earlier story, isn't it? By which I mean, in Octavia's tale, we're dealing with a mayor who has a whole bunch of remorse and wanting to know how to fix it. Can she fix it? While at the same time, we're seeing that there are good ponies in the court. We're seeing how the ponies in that court know that there's something wrong and they can fix it. We're seeing that there are plenty of subtle manipulations from ponies like Fancy Pants, Fleur, who look into these type of things. And we explore the good side here. Here, in this story, we explore a lot of the bad. The inner corruption brought forth by ponies like Greengrass. And I think that this is what this fic was. What this fic did particularly well. An exploration of one of the side villains, Greengrass. And I gotta say, it's a really well done one. In a lot of ways, Greengrass is making me think of my favorite DC villain. No, not Darkseid, but the one who ties for the Joker, Lex freaking Luthor. As I read this, especially during that garden scene, all I could think of was, this is Lex Luthor. I could give him the voice of Clancy Brown, which I did, and it wouldn't be any different. Yes, I say Lex Luthor because his ideals, his plan, and how he sees everything is much closer to Lex than David Xanatos. Xanatos is the type of guy who would want to focus on power for himself, but also would probably find a way to manipulate everything to get him. If this had been, if Greengrass had been closer to Xanatos, believe me, Lyra and Trixie and her team would have a lot harder problems of actually winning than that. No. His motivations are closer to Luthor. Luthor, much like Greengrass, believes in not so much so of ponies having power through gaining, well, outside like Superman does. He doesn't believe Superman should have all that power. He much prefers to be the self-made man, believing that power can be achieved through his own goals, his own means. His own arrogance proves that he wants all that power to show off that he can control, manipulate, and have everything the way he wants it. And this is what Greengrass is to me. Greengrass is showing just how much he wants that power for himself, how much he's bringing forth that power in his own horrible light. I think the garden scene best illustrates that, as Whereas most ponies like to garden outside, he's doing it in a place where he can control, manipulate, change, and reorchestrate everything. Make sure that everything happens on his timetable, in his clock, and in his style. And I really like that about it because it does say a lot about his character. Not to mention, but of course, we also see why he wants the elements. He doesn't believe that, the elements are heroes. He, like the rest of the Night Court that want the elements, want them because of a very selfish reason. They don't get that hero character, like Tracy and her team, would go off and help Equestria because it's the right thing to do. They believe they would do it for their own selfish means or just wait for somebody to do it for political gain. That's not what they are. And there's going to be a future fic that's going to demonstrate this so perfectly that it's not even funny. And it's going to be beautiful. Trust me. Trust me. It's my favorite Lunaverse story. The other characters we had a slight good ways of looking at. We did get a full look of Flora Fancy Pants, but one character I gotta admit we did get a sort of cool look at was Notary, who I did love in this fic because he made me think of Jarvis in a way. Less of Mercy and her awesomeness and more of, yes, if I didn't like doing the voice of Jamie Heights from Ghostbusters so much, I probably would have found a way to make her sound like a female Jarvis. Which, a female Jarvis would actually be kind of cool to look at. No, not comic Jarvis, movie Jarvis. The story, of course, flowed at a good pace, and it was interesting to see political manipulations going on here. It was almost like a fetch quest in a fic. And it serves as a good way to give us another side to the whole story. Basically, this was a really nice side episode. Well, next week, during all the Avengers hullabaloo, while My Little Avengers is about to start, we've got something entertaining on the Lunaverse side of things. Trixie? My day in Ponyville. Well, first off, raindrops seem to have appeared to be a little weird. Raindrops keep falling on my head, but that doesn't mean I should be turning red. And then after that, Jelly kind of stepped in an awkward situation with me. Oh my gosh. And then Carrot Top said she had something to do with Fluttershy. Fluttershy, you really need to grow up a little more. I've got something I need to show you. And Lyra and Bonbon, well, Lyra and Bonbon. See you later, hun. And then Ditsy had some sort of adventure dealing with her mail. Oh, let's see, where did I put this? And don't worry, it's gonna be okay. All in all, it was quite an entertaining day. Well, what do you expect? I have 5 great friends, and I don't ever want to lose them. Next time on the Lunaverse, Tales of Ponyville. It's going to be quite the relaxing read.